We live in a world where spending never stops.
Cherie, you're going to need to be tannoying this.
But why do we buy what we buy? And how is our desire to spend manipulated?
Every other company on earth is trying to get you to spend money, and they're putting all their effort into getting you to spend your money on stuff all the time.
I'm Jacques Peretti, and in this series I'm going to investigate the men who've made us spend. I'll discover how products were deliberately made to break so we buy more.
Planned obsolescence is an open secret. When I'm talking to professional management people, and they all say, well, we all know this.
I'll be investigating how they've used every tactic, from paranoia to reassurance, to unlock our primal instincts.
Wow, I want this car. Why? I don't know. That's good marketing.
How our fears have led millions of us to take medication we may not even need.
By far the most successful drug product ever launched in the world.
And I'll reveal how adults have been encouraged to behave like children, pushing us to indulge our desires to spend on impulse.
Trouble with adult consumers is they think too much. That's the last thing that those who sell to consumers want. They'd much rather have adults go in and say, oh, look at that, I want it now, like a child.
On this West London back street, I've got an appointment with a man who's after more than my money. He's out for blood.
Hi, Jake. How are you doing?
Not bad. A little nervous.
No reason.
Okay.
Dr. Daniel's sister is about to perform his trademark Dracula therapy on me.
Okay, please lay down here and relax.
Relax.
Yes.
Okay.
The treatment begins by drawing a vial of my blood.
It wasn't too painful?
Doesn't feel too bad at the moment.
For a mere £550, he's going to extract the clear plasma in my blood and inject it back into my face.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Growth factors in the serum are supposed to make my skin look and feel younger.
So how bad is it?
Well, that wasn't bad at all. That was just a needle in my face.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel any different from an ordinary injection.
No.
What do you think the motivation is for people coming to see you?
People who want to stay as young as possible for as long as possible. Also, there's maybe some kind of anxiety to be still young enough to have a second life, a second chance.
So if people have fears, you're providing the solution.
I relieve the fear, I relieve the anxiety, and I open the door for their new life. A better life, hopefully.
This kind of plasma therapy has also been used for a variety of medical conditions and sports injuries.
Do I look younger?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It takes about 2 to 3 weeks, and then you have the result.
Although its cosmetic benefits are yet to be clinically proven, Dr. Sister's success at selling it owes a lot to a tactic that is endemic in modern consumer culture.
The surprising thing about that was that I'm not even worried about looking old and aging until I went and had that treatment. And now I'm starting to think I should be fearful of this. What he's done really cleverly is he's tapped into that fear and has provided me with the solution.
Most of us like to think of ourselves as sophisticated, savvy consumers. alert to any attempts to manipulate our emotions in order to make us spend. But companies selling to us are keen to bypass our rational brains. They want to know how to frame appeals to our subconscious. And I'm off to meet the man who tells them. I'm deep in the French countryside looking for the home of an esteemed anthropologist and psychologist called Dr. Rappai. Clotaire Rappai has spent over 30 years advising companies as diverse as Kellogg's, General Motors, and tobacco giant Philip Morris. It looks like the setting for a Hammer horror film, but the man who lives here has turned fear into a different kind of business. And it's a lucrative one. This chateau is one of 6 properties he owns around the world.
Hello, how are you?
Dr.
Come in,
Rappai.
please.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Come in.
Thank you. It's a nice little place that you've got here.
Yeah. I like it very much.
Dr. Rappai believes that our primal desires always dictate our conscious choices. Clients get him to expose these subconscious emotional responses to a product.
People will say, wow, I want it. And I say, why? I don't know.
So if you can break the subconscious code, that gives you direct access to the line that gets you to sell things to people.
Yes, and that's success. When you do that, you're very successful.
For over 20 years, a host of car manufacturers have benefited from that success and Dr. Rappai's understanding of fear.
The Hummer is taking post-war America by storm, from Manhattan to California. Dr. Clotaire Rappai is the car psychologist who advises General Motors.
It's a weapon. So the message is, don't mess with me. You know, if you want to bump into me, I'm going to crush you and I'm going to kill you.
According to Dr. Rappai, the car that I came in, an SUV, owes its very design to fear. His advice to car makers focused on exploiting our most powerful primal instinct, survival.
A car is a message. When I see the car in the rearview mirror, I want to feel, oh, okay, this one is big, this one is powerful, you know, let them go.
So it's an important protective barrier.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it gives me superiority in a very dangerous world.
So perception and fear of danger is the absolute animating principle when it comes to us making purchases.
Right. If you don't provide a car that responds to this fear, you're not going to sell it. This is it, you see, so then you go out of business.
Rappai's techniques proved even more potent after the shock of the 9/11 attacks. By the early 2000s, SUVs accounted for over 20% of all American car sales.
SUVs are the fastest growing segment of the car market, and they're the mother lode of profitability.
Millions of car buyers were reassured by the security SUVs offered, but they were being led by base emotion rather than reason, because the SUV's very design made them less safe, not more.
SUVs are twice as likely to roll over as regular vehicles. About 60% of SUV accident deaths involve rollovers.
Cars are the perfect product for seeming to shield us from danger, tapping into our survival instinct to sell us protection. But this notion of soothing our fears has almost endless potential for getting us to spend.
It's a tactic that has proved extremely lucrative. Jonas Sachs studies the history of storytelling and marketing, and a system ad men have followed for decades to target our anxieties.
It was just a very simple idea that could be taught and learned by anyone who was creating the copy for an ad, that you create anxiety in an audience, tell them something that they didn't know but is not good, and then you introduce a magic solution. Of course, we all know that storytelling engages us. We lean in and want to hear the story. And like any good story, it's got a damsel in distress, it's got a villain, and it's got a hero. The damsel in distress is the consumer, the one who needs to consume the magic solution to defeat the villain. The villain is any number of frightening things happening out in the world. And the hero is the one proffering the magic pill, the thing that can save your life, and takes that damsel in distress and whisks them away from the fear and the danger. So the moral of the story is that without your favorite product, you're in danger.
It's a sales technique, the root of which goes back nearly 100 years. To this man, Stanley Ressor, one of the pioneers of modern advertising. In 1916, Ressor took over ad agency J. Walter Thompson and set out to professionalize the industry. His rigorous training programs taught a new wave of college-educated ad men how psychology and human motivation were fundamental to their work.
What Ressor said was that human beings were this writhing mass of individuals who kind of come together in this sort of jostling push for food and for safety, and that the only thing they really would respond to was fear.
The first product to benefit from these insights was an obscure antiseptic called Listerine. In need of new customers, its owner called in two of advertising's new professionals.
And they find out it has an interesting property, and they say, your product is actually great for curing halitosis. And they kind of leave that hanging in the air because no one really knows at the time what halitosis is. And so, of course, the client asks, well, what's halitosis? Halitosis is bad breath, and it's an epidemic in society, they tell him. We're going to let people know that this silent social killer is there, but it never announces itself. And if you have it, you can't get where you want to go in life, and you're going to be a social outcast.
Jane has a pretty face. Men notice her lovely figure, but never linger long. Because Jane has one big minus on her report card: halitosis, bad breath.
So they invent what they call whisper copy, or advertising by fear, and they create this campaign, a very story-based campaign about this woman, and she'll never be married. Why? Because she has halitosis. But there is a magic solution to it: Listerine. No one really knew that bad breath was a problem until the ad created that anxiety.
It was the basis for a campaign that would run for decades.
The trouble is you could have halitosis and never know it, and even your best friend won't tell you. Why take chances when there's such a pleasant, extra careful precaution? Listerine.
Listerine's whisper copy created a market for mouthwash from nothing.
He said that she said that he had halitosis.
In 7 years, the company's revenues rose from $115,000 to more than $8 million. Listerine's success in making people desire a cure would be picked up by a vast industry that had been built on the treatment of genuine medical conditions. Henry Gadsden, the head of one of the world's biggest pharmaceutical companies, bemoaned the fact that they could only sell to the sick. In an interview with Fortune magazine, Gadsden shared a vision of the future where drugs companies were more like chewing gum manufacturer Wrigley, selling to everyone. To do that, they would need to scare more of us into believing we were chronically ill and in need of the relief their drugs could provide. It was a British firm that led the way. In 1984, executives from British drugs company Glaxo came to Manhattan to ask the marketing men to do for them what they'd done for Listerine and find them a disease. Glaxo were launching a powerful new heartburn medication, but they had a problem. Zantac was a prescription-only drug, and most people bought heartburn remedies over the counter from their local pharmacy. They would have to be persuaded to visit the doctor instead. I've come to meet one of the branding experts who came up with the solution. Vince Parry, then working at Saatchi & Saatchi, told me how he helped to transform the way drugs are marketed.
You want people, instead of going into the drugstore and buying Tums or Rolaids, you want them to go to a doctor's office and get a prescription for a chronic medication. That's a vastly different behavioral change you're asking for. We have to put a name around that, and we have to put a serious rationale around it to justify the complexity of that transaction. In other words, we're going to go out there and make a big deal about this therapy, but no one yet knows they need it.
Most doctors agree it's normal to suffer occasional heartburn, but when it doesn't go away, the diagnosis might be GERD.
What was essentially heartburn became the far more fear-inducing gastroesophageal reflux disease, a name soon being heard everywhere.
When it happens at least twice each week, You may have GERD or gastroesophageal reflux disease.
People are afraid of being diminished, of being less than normal, of being substandard. When they hear that there's a name for that condition, they can go talk to a doctor and maybe get a medication for it. That takes away the terror of not being normal.
Today, clinicians worldwide use the term GERD to explain patients' symptoms of heartburn or acid reflux. By the time its patent expired, over 240 million people worldwide had Zantac prescriptions. This one drug made Glaxo $3.5 billion every year. Zantac's success helped change the very idea of what constitutes medicine. Soon drug companies were offering cures for all manner of obscure physical conditions and strange psychological syndromes.
Don't you think the drugs industry, given its immense power, has a duty to step back from these syndromes rather than to be giving us more medication for more syndromes?
You can't underestimate demand from consumers. People want relief, and they want quick relief so badly that it's almost difficult not to provide it for them.
Heartburn can't kill you, but heart disease certainly can. And in the late 90s, a new class of drug came on stream that would give its makers the chance to sell us the biggest wonder cure to date. They were called statins.
Now, new machines like this make it far easier to find people with very high cholesterol levels. And once they're found, there is a new drug that is from America and only available there, which could revolutionize their treatment.
Statins could be used for the treatment of heart disease by reducing one of the risk factors that contribute to it, high cholesterol.
Now, this drug could help those people by reducing the liver's ability to make cholesterol.
In 2014, 8 million people in Britain alone take a statin every day. Only around a third of them have suffered from the condition that statins were invented to target, heart disease. But we can't get enough of them, because cholesterol has become a national obsession.
Okay, so you just feel a sharp scratch on the finger.
At specialised cardiac screening events like this and at the GP, more of us now get checked for high cholesterol than ever before.
Is cholesterol something that people worry about?
Yes, I think it is a concern for people, and what we do actually see at the screenings each day is that we are able to identify people that have maybe a higher level of cholesterol.
I think I had my cholesterol level done in sort of October. Well, there's quite a lot of heart disease in my family.
Do you feel well in yourself? I mean, you look like a healthy chap.
Yes, I feel well in myself, but never mind feeling well. You don't know what's wrong inside.
I'd rather find out now. Yeah. I can go home and do something about it than not find out.
High cholesterol is actually just one of many factors that can lead to heart disease or stroke. But today, many of us act like it's the only one that counts. And a typical doctor's recommendation to treat it with statins seems pretty sensible. But is it? Dr. Kailash Chand is Deputy Chair of the British Medical Association and a GP with over 30 years' experience. His opinion as a GP is that millions of people have been led to feel anxious about cholesterol, and statins are being unnecessarily overprescribed.
That fear kind of mentality when comes in, the easiest possible solution is go and ask doctor that measure my cholesterol. If my cholesterol is high, I need something doing about it.
So it's the fear of high cholesterol and what that might do, which is actually propelling people to take the drug rather than actually the actuality of them being seriously at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Putting them on statin tablets, I think, in my view, is negligence.
Dr. Chand's view may be controversial, but one thing's certain. We're obsessed with statins and cholesterol. Where did that come from? To find out, I'm going to meet the man who launched the best-selling drug of all time. In 1999, Bob Ehrlich was in charge of the consumer marketing campaign for a powerful new statin called Lipitor. With other statins already on the market, he needed a way to help his product stand out from the crowd. But the results of clinical trials that he could use to market Lipitor were still years away.
It's an interesting problem we had, which was we couldn't say Lipitor prevents heart attacks. So we decided to focus on what we could focus on, which was we're the best at lowering cholesterol. And we went out and advertised that.
So what was different about the Lipitor campaign from the other campaigns that were being run by the other companies?
Well, the thinking was cholesterol is one of the things that consumers can understand, react to, try to lower. The more consumers know about a condition, the more educated they are, the more they're likely to take action.
The drug's efficacy in getting cholesterol down now became its key selling point.
Consumers remember basically one thing, and one thing only. You can't tell them a lot. They're not that interested. So you've got to hit them with what's the most important thing that they'll remember.
And it was about to reach a vastly wider audience.
The government came out today with new and aggressive guidelines for treating millions of Americans at risk for heart disease.
Exercise, weight loss, and
Eligibility for statin treatment in America at the time was determined by a committee of the National Institute of Health. This committee now lowered the threshold at which cholesterol was considered too high.
to do that, exercise and diet can help. If there was a motto for the new guidelines just published today, it might be something like, how low can you go?
Overnight, the number of people apparently at risk from high cholesterol rose from 13 million to 36 million.
The result for the drugs industry was clear, wasn't it? It was ka-ching.
Well, if the numbers trebled, I think that was a decision that the healthcare experts made. The more people that take statins, the better off society will be.
Lipitor's manufacturer, Pfizer, had financial ties to 6 of the 7 committee members who made the decision to lower the cholesterol threshold. In Europe, including Britain, cholesterol guidelines were also soon being lowered, but the drugs companies needed a different tactic to reach consumers. Here, direct advertising of drugs is banned, so they worked with patient groups and charities to get their message out. GPs faced more and more patients anxious about their cholesterol. And in 2004, the government gave them a further incentive to prescribe statins.
Family doctors have voted to accept a new NHS contract.
At its heart was a new set of performance indicators that would tie surgery budgets to results.
For doctors, a promise of better pay and hours. But of course, they have to give something in return. They'll have to meet quality targets.
GPs were now required to screen for and treat cholesterol. But some in the medical establishment believe that we are too eager to prescribe statins.
So it wasn't just the public who bought into this idea that cholesterol was this scary thing. Government, GPs, the medical establishment, everyone bought into this idea.
Yes, you see, GP had to do it. GP had no choice but to bring the cholesterol down. So how do you bring the cholesterol down? Rather than at that stage, in my view, going for lifestyle changes, going for exercise, easiest way found was put them on statins. What we've done is then we overdiagnose and overtreat.
Pfizer told us statins have significantly benefited patients and public health by helping to treat cardiovascular disease. And it is a widely held, established view within the medical community that treating patients to target cholesterol levels reduces the risk of cardiovascular events. When working with patient organisations, we always ensure that they are not dependent on any funding we provide and their independence is not compromised. Pfizer also told us that our assumptions misrepresent the responsible approaches to marketing taken by the pharmaceutical industry. In England alone, the NHS now spends over £250 million every year on statins. They are the most prescribed drugs in the country. Henry Gadsden had a vision of selling to everyone, and thanks to the fear of high cholesterol, that vision was closer than ever before. But there was still a limit to the number of people they could sell their cures to, until they realised that no one is immune from risk.
The alluring prospect of a limitless market beckoned for industries that could capitalise on the mere risk of getting ill. All they had to do was play on our desire to stay well and our fear of the alternative.
A whole new anxiety was about to be pressed into service: hygiene.
The temptation is to move from traditional cleaners like these to new antibacterial products like these.
A new word has entered the lexicon: antibacterial, and with it thousands of germ-killing products, from hand gel and kitchenware to mouse mats and even children's toys. I'm heading to the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine to find out whether these products really are better at keeping us clean. Director of the school's hygiene centre, Dr. Val Curtis, has offered to show me what happens to the germs on my skin.
Okay, so Jack, can you put your hand under the UV light and let's see what you can see? Okay, so can you see it glowing? There's a green glow on your hands. Right, turn your hands over.
And this is just touching doors and so on, but it's actually right across my hand. I mean, I could have kept my hands clean, I would have thought, but they don't look that clean.
No.
So.
They look pretty dirty to me. What I want to do now is wash both your hands. One of them in the latest generation of antibacterial soaps. This one claims to kill 10 times more than any other. And this is just plain white soap. Would you like to put them under my lamp?
Certainly.
See what we can see. I would say it's pretty much the same.
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah. So that's exactly how these two soaps work. They both wash germs off your hands.
Okay, so the plain soap actually has got rid of the bacteria.
It's got rid of 99% of the bacteria, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. But that's soap that isn't marketed as antibacterial, it's just soap.
It's plain soap.
Our conversion from plain soap to antibacterials has been spearheaded in Britain by the market leader for 20 years, Carex. Former head of product development at the makers of Carex, Cussons, Barry Schaaf was one of the men behind the brand.
Carex has been hugely successful, but doesn't just soap and water do the job?
To a very large extent, yes. Simply washing their hands does most of the job. But by bringing attention to it, we're encouraging more people to wash their hands more of the time. Yes, on the one hand, that's obviously very, very good for business. If you can bring an antibacterial benefit into that as well, then you're doing an even better job.
Weren't you, though, in the business of actually trying to create a kind of climate of fear around the idea of hygiene?
No. Quite simply because we all know, it's just common sense prevails, that people know that a kitchen is never perfectly clean and that you have to keep on top of it.
Yet Cussons and its competitors did exploit our paranoia to push an ever-growing range of antibacterial soaps, hand gels and other products. It didn't matter that plain soap was just as effective. Germ panic was now firmly planted in the consumer's mind, which meant that these companies were well placed to take advantage of the occasional health scare or pandemic.
Swine flu cannot now be contained. That's the warning from the World Health Organization as it heightens its alert.
All of the publicity that those concerns get evokes the need in the minds of all of us to stay clean and healthy. And that is the only thing that needs to be in the consumer's mind to make them see Carex as a good idea.
So why are antibacterials so successful if, as Val Curtis showed me, we don't really need these products? She puts it down to a familiar trick: their ability to target our primal instincts.
It's not about science or rationality, though we're given the science argument as a reason to believe it. Humans come equipped with an emotion of disgust. Right back in our earliest history, you see this need for purification, for getting rid of substances that are yucky and nasty and might make us ill. So there are certain products that we used in rituals for purification, things like vinegar, things like lemon. And you find that those things are actually put into products nowadays because in our ancient brain, those are things that cue purity.
That primal fear of getting ill soon piqued the interest of the food industry. They showered us with hundreds of new products and sold us the idea that an ordinary balanced diet was no longer enough. To stay well and stave off disease, we needed food and drink that would give us added protection. And one product to receive a health makeover was that most basic commodity of all: water. and it was potentially lucrative enough to attract the attention of celebrities.
I was in a supermarket and I saw a gallon of water for $2.89, and I went further down the aisle and I seen another gallon of spring water for 59 cents. Chris Lighty was working closely together. He was managing me, and I said, I want to sell water. And he was like what? I said, I want to sell water. He's like, to who? I said, everybody need water. Like, you know, it might have been an easier concept for him if I said I wanted to sell liquor.
50 Cent and his manager homed in on a colourful new brand called Vitamin Water. They hatched a plan designed to impress and went to see the company's then marketing chief, Rohan Oza. He now lives in the hills above Los Angeles.
He set up a meeting with three of us, and Fifth walked in with a vitamin water. My assumption was Fifth was genuinely drinking the product. He was very conscious because he's very in shape, very fit, and he drank the product. So once we realized that was the case, he's a very smart businessman as well. He says, I want to become a partner in the company. And so we structured a deal where 50 became an owner in the company and helped build it with us.
What a beautiful marriage.
It was great. Yeah, he did pretty well out of it. I can't say how much though, because it's an agreement we have. I don't tell anybody how much he made, and he doesn't shoot me. I think it's pretty fair.
50 Cent took a reported 10% stake in the company. This is a product that appears to put health front and centre. It's not just that it's water enhanced with vitamins. It's the range of carefully named flavours, from Revive to Defence.
And it's bottled in this clinical packaging that seems designed to affirm the drink's unique selling point. It's a soft drink that actually does you good.
But in 2009, the Advertising Standards Authority ruled that vitamin water couldn't be considered healthy because its sugar content was nearly as much as a can of Coke.
Do you not feel any kind of guilt that really you were trying to push a product with the word health attached that is not healthy?
People didn't think this product was going to let you, leap off tall buildings in a single bound or climb skyscrapers with your web. I mean, people realized that, I'm getting vitamins, the product tastes great.
But don't you think by calling it healthy, you're cynically kind of preying on people's anxieties about health?
Well, it depends how you classify it. It's all relative. What Vitamin Water was providing, and we're being very clear about it, is it's a healthier approach. Now, if you're going to drink plain water all day, every day, and take your vitamins, that's fine. But the bulk of people don't. The top 10 beverages in America indicate that.
Owners of the #1 beverage took note. In 2007, Coca-Cola took over Vitamin Water's owners, Glasso. And marketing chief Rohan Oza went to work for the new owners, Coke. Marketing for Vitamin Water now pushed its health-enhancing properties even harder. On their website, it was suggested that certain ingredients in the drinks could reduce the risk of colds, chronic diseases, even cancer. Coke's more explicit sales pitch had caught the attention of the Centre for Science in the Public Interest, an organisation dedicated to protecting consumers from deceptive labelling and marketing. They decided to sue. I asked the CSPI's lead counsel, Stephen Gardner, why they turned to litigation in response to Coke's marketing.
Because we're all scared of dying. Companies like Coke, but not alone, have chosen to prey on those fears and to make people believe that this is part of the solution. It isn't. They were making purely illegal, completely unfounded claims to prevent a variety of diseases. They claimed that it would inhibit growth of tumors, which is double talk for prevent cancer, of the skin, lung, oral cavity, esophagus, stomach, liver, prostate, and other organs. Awesome, but not true. They were absolute and total nonsense. These claims were completely unsubstantiated, and all they would do at best is give people false hopes.
At early legal arguments, Coke said that no reasonable consumer could have been misled by Vitamin Water's labelling. Ahead of the expected trial, they insist the claims are without merit and will be rejected, and that Vitamin Water is a great tasting, hydrating beverage with essential vitamins and water, and labels showing ingredients and calorie content. the specific health claims have been removed from their website. And according to a spokesperson for Coca-Cola in the UK, vitamin water has now been reformulated to be sweetened with a combination of natural sweetener and sugar, reducing it to 65 calories per bottle.
Is vitamin water the distillation of fear marketing in a single bottle of seemingly innocuous sugary water? A product the customer will reach out to every day and feel they're protecting themselves against illness.
But what about the one problem that none of us can fight?
I'm 74.
Aging. The anxieties associated with this have proved fertile ground for the men who made us spend. In the last decade, a new wave of companies has looked to cash in on one of the biggest insecurities of all, losing our memory.
You can help keep your mind sharp.
Among the first was gaming giant Nintendo. Their brain age and brain train games adapted the ideas of neuroscientist Dr. Ryuta Kawashima into a series of mini-games, simple mental exercises designed to stimulate the brain and keep it young.
David, nice to meet you.
David Yarnton, then the head of Nintendo UK, was the man who brought the game to Britain.
We spent a lot of time taking product out to be sampled by, say, the over 50s. We went to medical centres, so people in the waiting room, we put product in there to sample. We actually worked with Saga and got them with their people to sort of sample it, get some feedback from them to what people, their fears about, growing old were. And it was all about, I think, people didn't want to lose their youth. So having fun was really important.
But the fun had a serious message if you didn't perform well.
Your brain is in its 60s? It's a bit harsh.
Maybe time's playing tricks on your memory.
Simply by telling me that my brain is in its 60s, the game plays on the anxieties we all have about mental decline as we get older.
So I'll keep going back to get my brain age down, and I presume my mind younger and more alert.
Tell me about what brain age is. How does that work in operation?
It wasn't necessarily to say that it's going to make you younger, but it was just a sort of measure to sort of, so you could judge yourself, do lots of practice and maybe bring it down as you got quicker and better. So it did shine as a bit of a mental gymnastics.
But it is very much sort of nudging you towards the idea that this thing will improve your memory and so on, and that's a health benefit.
Yeah, one of the things we never did, and we're very important that we made sure we never made any health claims with the product. It really became from people outside of the company.
It's not surprising. We live in an era where many of us will have to work for more years and in a more competitive environment than ever before. And the pressure to remain relevant in the workplace is fueling fears, not just about our aging minds, but our aging bodies.
I've come to Las Vegas, a city that defies nature, to learn about the success of an industry that wants to do the same.
This is the annual get-together of the global anti-aging industry.
What's all this about?
It's eye lipo. It's a pain-free laser treatment, FDA cleared. So we're trying to show the before and after.
Here, hundreds of businesses are pitching some incredibly sophisticated products to thousands of delegates.
And you've got socks here. What are the socks for?
Oh, the socks are actually a product that thermoregulates the body and allows blood vessels to expand or contract as needed. They modulate the body.
Wow.
And this is just a glimpse of an industry that today is worth over $250 billion.
We send focused electromagnetic fields through special applicators into the patient's body to find dysfunctional areas in the body.
Can I have a go?
You have a go? Let's do it. Let's run the machine for you.
Yes, please.
Your stomach is responding.
Right. I'm hungry.
Oh, that's not.
That's not it, no.
Your knee also?
Yeah.
Did you used to play sports?
Not really.
Okay. skin.
Okay, so what's the diagnosis? What should I do?
You're very healthy.
Oh.
I'm gonna look at you.
Okay.
However, you're drained.
The choice here is bewildering. There's exhibitors offering bespoke pharmaceuticals and promoting everything from hormone therapy to stem cell rejuvenation. And they're trading on the biggest fear of them all, the fear of death.
What I've just seen in there has given me an idea of the vast scale of this industry. There are people who've come from all over the world to sell their anti-aging products, but the mind-boggling thing is that they don't seem to actually have to prove that any of it works.
What's all the more incredible is that many of the customers are doctors, because this is a medical conference.
You deserve a lot of credit for bringing to the public a new paradigm of healthcare. Yeah, that's right, you can applaud, I agree. Thank you.
In here, they're taking great care to present anti-aging as a credible medical speciality that applies scientific innovation and medical technology to the prevention, treatment and reversal of age-related diseases. But there's one particularly controversial treatment that has massively raised the public profile of their industry. Human growth hormone therapy involves the injection of a naturally occurring hormone that triggers the growth of bones and body tissues.
His roster of patients includes movie stars and the president of a foreign country, some of whom pay as much as $1,000 a month for the treatment.
Is this a wonder drug? Well, we wondered ourselves.
Well, I'm 74 and I worked out 2 hours last night and I've recovered. And I can stay up till midnight.
It's over 20 years since human growth hormone was first used as an anti-aging treatment. Back then, it was the catalyst for these two men to create an entire discipline. Ronald Klatz is chairman of the Academy for Anti-Aging Medicine. Bob Goldman is its president. They make their money not from selling treatments, but from spreading the word about anti-aging. Their company runs events like this around the world, attracting lucrative sponsorship and thousands of paying exhibitors. It's earned them close to $60 million. Here, they're treated like the A-list celebrities who support them. But I wanted to talk to them about making money out of an industry whose credibility is questioned by many in the medical establishment.
Everything we do is science-based. The people who claim that they're not are the people who have little regard for integrity, truth, and academic honesty. I mean, it's really a disgrace. To claim that anti-aging is unscientific is to claim that the world is flat.
America's National Institute of Health, one of the world's top medical research centers, cautions against many of the treatments offered by the anti-aging industry. They warn of harmful side effects and insist there are no therapies proven to prevent aging or influence the aging process, including hormone therapy.
They're playing with words. What they're saying is, we've looked at this and we've determined that there is no anti-aging benefit. But what is anti-aging? If you ask me what anti-aging is anything that improves the functionality of the human species.
What you're saying, you might as well say that no one has any credibility. This is a governmental organisation, and you're saying that it's not true.
You're right. And the Department of Defense and the UN and the President of the United States told me that there were nuclear weapons in Iraq. And how could we not believe that?
So you're not quacks selling an impossible dream, false hope to people?
We don't sell anything, you see. We don't sell any commercial products.
So you've created like a $250 billion business, but you haven't made any money out of it.
That's not our...
You haven't done very well, man, have you?
We would be happy with 5%, but no, we're talking about 1%. We're talking about the industry itself.
Yeah.
That's not a beneficial to us.
But didn't you sell 80% of your business for $60 million? I mean,
that is the commercial end of the exposition business. We make money from the business of the conference business.
What would you say to people who say that really you're pushing a fear and an anxiety that people have about aging, and you're kind of exploiting it? We all age.
Yes, we're all aging, but it's your choice how you age. It's your choice whether you're old at 55 or 60 or 65 or 75 or 95 or 105. That is your choice. That's what we're offering.
But isn't that an impossible, I mean, a ridiculous dream? Because
of course it's not. We're not against aging. We're against the diseases of aging.
People say, well, who wants to live to be 89? A guy who's 88. Okay, because when it comes your time, all of a sudden, wait a second, I'm not ready to go.
Bob and Ron have honed a seductive, even lucrative sales pitch. And like so many others before them, they've done it by picking up on age-old anxieties. However sophisticated today's consumers seem, it's a technique that works on enough of us, enough of the time, to make a lot of people very rich.
Over 100 years ago, the men who made us spend first learned that purchasing to make us feel better about ourselves is rooted not in aspiration, but in fear. They ensured that there will always be new anxieties and new solutions to those anxieties that we never even knew we needed. Fear is at the very heart of why we buy.
Next time, how children were turned into consumers.
We had trained a generation of kids to think, there's got to be product, there's got to be toys.
And adults turned into kids with credit cards.
Marketers began to realize if they could get adults to behave more like children, they would become better buyers, better consumers.
Did it feel like you were